Hi y'all, in today's video we're going to be going over my strategy. We're going to be back testing February of 2026, and I'm just going to be giving you guys like a good view of like my thought process and just how to analyze the markets on a very like simple view. I'm not going to be going over every single detail in this session, but what I will be giving you guys is the thought process, right? So let's take a look. We're going to start out on February 1st. I'm noticing that we have these internal lows here being built up, internal highs and lows. So for a lot of these examples, I'm going to be marking out the Asia and London session highs and lows. So all you have to do is just go here and click on the horizontal rays. I'll mark out the lows. Next, we're going to mark out the internal highs because that is from Sunday overnight session. And then I'm going to go ahead and get to the AM session. Sorry about that, it's a little delayed. All right, let's take a look at the 1 minute chart. And as you can see, market open, we opened display strongly above. I'm gonna look for a long narrative entry here. So I'm looking for a rebalance. We have the rebalance. The candle closes in higher. I'm gonna put my stops for a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio and anticipation of price running higher. So let's see if this gets hit here. All right, it gets hit. And for all these trades that you guys see here today, I'm going to just be doing the AM macro. I'm not going to be doing the PM macro. I'm not going to be doing anything else. I'm just going to show you one solid execution per day. I might take a second one if I think that there is a second entry. But let's get into the next session. Now I'm going to do the same thing that I just did on the previous trade. We're going to mark out the London low and the London high. And as you can see, market has been slowly drifting upwards. We're not really going anywhere. So I'm going to be more so looking for a reversal. I want to see one of these draws get met and then see what price does once the draws get met. So the draws being London high and London low. So let's take a look and see. So we go deeply past this draw. So now I'm looking for price to continue lower, or if we're going to run back up to the draw and continue higher. So now depending on how these next candles open, I'm going to decide to go short here because we're closing below these lows and I'm anticipating price to continue run lower. My stops go above the candle that made the original displacement right here. And I'm going to be targeting a 1-to-1 for 40 points. It's up to your discretion. You could target 50 points, anywhere from 30 to 50 points if you're a beginner. I target 80 points sometimes if I have the discretion to decide. So like if you look here on a higher time frame, you could target a bit more, but you're not guaranteed anything more than 30 to 50 points. And since my stop was around 40 points, I just decided to target a 40-point stop, a 40-point target. So let's go ahead and get into the next session. All right. So let's do the same thing we did before. We're going to mark out the highs and lows. This is just a really simple way for you to identify important draws. Obviously, once you're a bit more advanced, you can do what you do with identifying previous time frame highs, previous time frame lows, and deciding which liquidity areas are more important. So let's get to 9:30 open. Remember, our macro time begins at 9:33 a.m., so I'm not going to take an entry before 9:33 a.m. But we swept the draw. Market opens 9:33. We dip below the draw. So now let's see what we can get. We're displacing higher, but let's wait a little bit more. I'm going to be a bit more careful today because we have not taken out any draws. So if anything, I'm going to look for price to reverse a bit lower towards that draw towards that low that we made right here. All right, price is at this midpoint. All right, now we're going lower. I'm not going to target a lot here. This is a little bit more risky, but I'm looking and we're in this accumulative range. So let's see if we can get this 1-to-1 right here. It's a bit more risky. All right, this is hit. This isn't really like the best day to use the model because we're just in accumulation, but let's go to the next session. You'll still find winning trades on either side as long as you're not targeting too much. Like, it really is that simple. Like, as long as you're not looking to catch the whole entire fucking downward or upward trend, you can really make something happen. So let's see. We have these London highs here that we have yet to revisit, and price has significantly gone down. So let's see what the market open is talking about. Da 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 da. All right, let's take a look. Let me zoom in a bit for y'all so you can see it a little bit better. Hold on 1 second. Let's take a look. So we've taken out this low. I want to see how the macro is reacting though. So we're displacing higher and we're still displacing higher. So I'm going to look to increase my size here because I'm in a good size profit. Stops will go below the displacing candle on the internal level. And we're going to be targeting 1-to-1. And as see, it gets smacked in a few candles. And I've targeted this area specifically because we're not guaranteed to get that high. And see, we have that rebalance candle there. So if you're trading with these firms that have intraday drawdowns, you really do want to be careful. Like, you should just be looking for the quick displacement. Like, that's what I... But let's see. Let's get to the next session. It is a Friday. I don't really like trading Fridays. Damn it. I accidentally skipped through here, but like I just said, I don't really trade Fridays, but you could have got longs here. Even though it is a little bit more risky, I'd say I just decrease size on Fridays. That's usually what I do. Because you could, like I said, take a long entry here. Just don't target too much. We had PXH here. We did have a rebalance, but let's go to the next session. All right. Let me just get to the next day. All right, let's mark out our highs and lows. Let's identify the actual London high, though. It's right around here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Go on a higher time frame, just so I can see exactly where we are and what's going on, since it's a new week open. So let's take a look and actually see where we are. It's placing higher, rebalance. Now I want to see if the price is going to continue upwards or continue downwards after the rebalance. So let's go to market open. All right, here again, I did accidentally skip, but I'm still going to look for a macro open entry. We can see if there's anything going on at 10 a.m. since we have news here. So let's see if we can catch a rebalance and displacement higher. That's ideally what I'm looking for since we've been displacing higher. So that's our candle. Let's take an entry here. I'm going to lower size since it's a little bit outside of our window and put my stops below the candle displacement. And I'm going to be targeting this high here. So let's see what happens. That does get hit. And as you can see, that's a cleaner move versus, taking an entry during the rebalance, which you don't want to take an entry during the rebalance. It's just not going to end up as well. All right, let's get on to the next session. I do have a lot of these highs, previous highs and lows right now. So you do want to restart your chart every time. I'm just doing this because it's a back testing session and it's a little bit easier for you guys to just see where the highs and lows are if I just draw it out quickly. Let's get to the next session. All right, let's take a look. So we've displaced lower, and now we're going higher. We're still in the mid-range of those two draws that I marked out. But let's see what price does. See if there's any news. News drivers are super important to check. Make sure you're checking those during the week. I did forget to mention that because news drivers, they can bring a lot of volatility into the market. We're having a lot of wicks here. I'm going to take shorts here just because we've been displacing and it's early in the macro, but I'm going to target the first internal draw that I see here. I'm not going to be looking for too much, and I'll put my stops above this candle. Does get smacked. Let's see what happens. Do get a bit of a rebalance. But let's get some next session. All right, so I'm seeing we're having a lot of displacement and rebalance displacement on a higher time frame here, right? So honestly, my narrative here so far is anticipating bullish price action. But let's see what the macro tells us, because that is the only thing that matters as where I'm looking to take my entry. All right, we're at market open. We displace higher again. So let's see if we can get a rebalance entry. We just took out the sell side, but we didn't close below. So that isn't telling me that we're going to continue higher. Let's increase size here. I'm going to put this stop right below this candle, just because I don't think price should ideally tap lower. I'll target this internal or external high here. That did get ran, but I still think the straight idea can happen. So let's see if we can get another entry here. Nothing yet. I'm going to take longs here. Decrease size a little bit since I did take a loss. And I'm going to put my stops below that displacement candle right here. I'm going to target the same thing right here. That same like external high area right here. So as you guys can see, that did get hit. So let's just keep it moving. We take 2 losses, and then we're going to get to the next stack. All right. Like sometimes you can just be wrong, and I think it is difficult for people to accept when days you aren't correct, because that's usually when people end up going on tilt. But let's see, we're going to mark out the highs and lows as we have been doing. Let me just get rid of this. And let's actually take a look, right? I want to go to market open and see what market open tells us during the macro. So we do have this internal draw here, which price did not sweep. Are looking pretty wick and choppy. I'll probably just skip today. Like, this is not price action that you want to see on the model. If you see this, just go ahead and skip to the next session. Or, you can check out the PM macro if you want to. But since I'm strictly just doing the AM macro for this video, I'm just going to skip that. All right, let's see where price is, because apparently none of my zones are here. So we did displace lower. Let's add in our new draws, right? Let's hop on a lower time frame. We are just chopping. Straight accumulation. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go to the next AM macro session, which is it starts at 10:40. And let's see if there's any opportunities there. Because price does look like it's displacing a little bit better here. Let's see if we can catch an entry. displacing lower. See what price does down here. Since we're going up, I'm in this cumulative range, I'm going to anticipate a 1-to-1 here. I'm not going to be targeting too much because we really have not been moving that well. See if this gets hit. A little bit lower probable, but you know, if you're still looking to take an entry, you just have to have discretion behind your entry, right? I did not do high size here. I didn't do anything crazy, and I wasn't targeting too much. Just 30 to 50 points. If you're really not sure, just always go back to that. Let's go to the next session. Hopefully I don't skip past it. All right. Let's mark out our highs and lows. We really have not been moving too much. Just a rule of thumb, if you notice overnight, we have not displaced more than like 100 points. I'd say you should have a narrative that's more reversal-like, but if we have displaced 200 to 300 points, you can anticipate more of a continuation unless price during the macro tells you otherwise. So let's see what's going on here. Let's go to macro open. Let's go on the lower time frame. See, like we are displacing lower and we're having a lot of wicks. So let's just see. We have a displacement below the draw. I'm gonna look for shorts here. I'm really not gonna risk too much on this. I'm just gonna put it above the candle that made the displacement. I'm gonna target a bit more since we're in that downtrend, just from overall pre-market. But that is a discretionary base entry. See, we're still running down, but now we're going back up. That's why it's super important to not have super crazy out of the area take profits. Like, you will just get ran here. Let's get to the next session. Let's take a look. All right, let's mark out as we've done our highs and lows. This is like a really easy way just to help you as a beginner when it comes to understanding where are my important draws. The very, very external highs and the very, very external lows. You can use internal draws, but they're not as probable. That's why I'm saying mark out the external. See if we have news. We do have the Fed speaking. Fed speech days aren't really the best, but let's see if we can get something there in the macro. I want to see what we're doing on the 1 minute here. See, now we're displacing higher. We displace above the draw. Let's see if we get a rebalance. Still displacing. All right, let's see what's going on here. See if we rebalance, continue lower, or rebalance, continue higher. We're gonna go almost short here. The anticipation that price will reach this internal low here, smacked in one candle. Could have taken longer, but like I said, it's a Fed day. I'm not looking for a lot when the Fed's speaking. Let's go to the next session. Right. Let's take a look. Let's mark out the highs and lows again, as we have done. And jump down lower just so we can get to the AM macro open, like I said, at 9:33. And when you're this much in profit, like, don't be afraid to take a little bit more risk. I forgot to mention that. So when I am above $3,000 in profit, I will increase my size slowly, as you've seen throughout this video. But let's take a look and see. We're just placing higher. I'm gonna look for longs here. Just a little bit lower size. I'm just not too comfortable with this just because we've been displacing lower on a higher time frame. But again, this is what price is telling me during the macro, so I'm going to look for this internal high here. Let's see if this gets hit here. And we did get stopped out. Unfortunate. Let's get to the next session. But as I was saying, once you scale with a certain amount of profit, I won't scale more than like 2 or 20 micros on a 50K evaluation account. I just don't think it's worth it. If you want to scale higher, just get a higher account. Get a 150K if you want to do more like 3 minis and above. Let's see. Zoom out a bit. We do have these highs at London. It's pretty wide range. Just gonna hop on a higher time frame and just see. What it is we're exactly doing on a higher time frame, because that does matter. You have seen me trade mostly on the 1 minute, but I will use the higher time frames because you want your trade idea to align with higher time frames, because price is fractal here, right? Whatever you're seeing on a lower time frame, you should be seeing on a higher time frame to justify your entry. So let's take a look and see. Open. We just came in and swept the low, but we failed to close below the low. Now we've closed below the low. I'm going to take sells here. Price goes above the candle that made the displacement. And we're going to target a little bit more here. Just because I do believe on a higher time frame. Actually, never mind. Price is knocked it out. Let's see if we can catch something else. If not, I'm just going to go to the next session. Now, it's much easier said than done to just be like, oh, okay, got stopped out, let me hop off. That's why I think for beginners, auto lockout is super important. That will be your, let me get to the next session. Set a daily loss limit for, $600 if you're on a 50K, $700, whatever you're willing to risk. Just put that loss limit in place so when it does happen, you're not going on tilt and losing your account. Like, that is super important, and that's what helped me make significant progress at the beginning of the year. I always had auto lockout on. But let's take a look and see during the macro. All right, we came into those lows and we're displacing higher. I want to see what happens. I'm going to just go on to 15 seconds and take a look. I'm going to enter buys here. I'm looking how price is displacing higher, and we're at the beginning of the macro. I'm looking for speed and efficiency with this move here to the next internal high. Right here. Boom, smacked. And the reason why this is smacked, like, look at what's going on, right? We've displaced lower, we're seeing price take the liquidity, and we're reversing higher. So it's one of 4 things: reversal higher, reversal lower, continuation higher, continuation lower. Like, just keep it that simple and use the draws to reinforce your idea. But let's see. I'm gonna go to the next session. Mark out our highs and lows again, as I've been saying to y'all. I'm gonna keep saying it until, that's something you incorporate into your system, because it will help. Displacing off of this draw, I want to see what price does if we were to continue higher or continue lower. See how this candle closes. Still not enough. We're wicking, and I don't really like that. I'm going to take sells here because I'm seeing an algorithmic signature called turtle soup where none of these candles are closing above. So that is telling me that price will continue lower. We're not going to continue higher because price is failing to do so and gets ran. Easy. Let's go to the next session. And we're getting to the end of this. And as you can see, it is really just as simple as I'm taking entries based off of my own discretion. And I'm keeping this pretty simple for y'all. Like, all I'm doing is marking out highs and lows that are prominent during London and Asia. And I'm using those draws during the macro to decide what entry I want to take. But let's get some more data since I didn't mark out London high and Asia low yet. But as you can see, it's still right there. So let's take a look. We've displaced off this draw. I want to see what price is telling us on a 15-second time frame, see if we're displacing higher or displacing lower. We're displacing lower. So let's see for an entry here. Let's enter short. Gonna put my stops above the displacement candle. You do have to accept a risk here, okay? You're not gonna be able to take a non-discretionary based entry without risk. As see, this does get smacked. And I accepted the risk. We just displaced higher off of that. Now I'm gonna enter buys here. Anticipation of this external draw getting met here. Boom. Those are the only types of days where the narrative is reversed that I will say that I take entries like that. If it's clear continuation signs towards a draw, I'm going to take the entry. But there are a lot of lines here. Let me just get rid of some of these so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. Just because we're getting towards the end of the session. Let's zoom in and take a look and see what's going on with the price. Let's get to the next session, actually. Sorry about that. We're going to put our high and we're going to put our low. Why is it not putting the low? I just want London low. Let's just take a look. My narrative here, by the way, is bullish. See what the macro tells us, though. Second change. We are displacing higher, though. See that rebalance candle right there? I'm going to take longs here. And since we've displaced so much higher, I am going to be anticipating more points because I'm risking more. And like I said, this is up to your own discretion. Let's see if this gets hit, though. Boom. Smacked. And like I said, look at the clear displacement higher. We've just been on an uptrend. You want to take a look and see what the market is telling you to decide how much you want to target. But for beginners, like I've been saying, 30 to 50 points will get met. I target 80 points, sometimes max, when I'm really looking for a large displacement higher or lower. But usually I'll just stick to the draws, and sometimes that ranges, like I said, from 30 to 50 points. But like I said, we're getting towards the end of this session. So let's take a look and see how we close out. We're already up 15,000 on the month, which is pretty good if I'd say so myself, especially if you're factoring in, the 3,000 for the account to pass, the 2,000 for a typical account buffer, still up 10K. And if you want to include profit split, 8K. But let's see what the price is telling us here at the macro open. We're displacing lower. We displaced below that draw. I'm looking for shorts here. Let's go on a 15-second and see if that aligns with our narrative. I'm taking shorts. I'll hold on TP and stop. We're going to put above here. I'm really not looking for a price to go above here. And if it does, so be it. But like I said, easy. Let's get to the next session and see what price is telling us then. And then I will show you guys the results. I mean, you can pretty clearly see that we're in profit, but give you a good idea of how we did overall in the session. Let's take a look. It's Friday. Like I said, my Fridays, data-based, are my worst days. So let's just see what price has to offer us here, because I might skip, but let's just see how we close. Let's go to macro open. Have the low here that just got swept. Now let's see what price is doing. We're displacing off that low. You can enter buys here. The anticipation that price will run and seek those internal highs right there. It does get smacked. Stop loss. But like I said, you have strict stops in place. Will keep your profit. But let's go ahead and take a look at our analytics for this session. It was a good session overall. I haven't traded February since February. But as you can see, we have a 75% win rate, 15K, almost 16,000 in profit. Here's the stats. We didn't trade 2 days. One was a Friday and then one was an accident. But as you can see overall, the model is super profitable as long as you follow the system, follow your time, and just have common sense. And I hope you guys found that helpful just to get a live idea of the model. But with that, I'll catch y'all on the next one.